We have 6 of the 7 O Antiphons set to music now.
Great.
They're all for a mixture of different things. It's a bit like a sort of Bach cantata with mixture of solos and choruses and organ. When I finally got round to writing the first one, O Sapientiae, I decided it needed something to lead into. And I was very taken with what we discussed, I think, at the very beginning about the idea of antiphons being framing devices.
Yes.
So it opens with a very, very short 1 minute, what I've called an invocation, which is for the 2 solo voices, again an organ, with just simply a setting of the word veni, which is the theme. I think Hubert and I have been talking about how each one features this word veni. I mean, they generally, with a kind of, in a vague way, make a journey from being very, very austere at the beginning to gradually building up into more activity as we get to the end. That's a general shape. I feel there's a kind of rhythm coming out in what we're doing, and we want it to stand as a single, coherent form, but that doesn't mean that that form can't also involve prayers and that sort of thing. So
we can either interpolate congregational participation into the midst of the work and treat them as standalone units, but that risks losing the overall design or confusing the perception of the design. We could top and tail it, so we could have something that sets it up and then we could let it run.
We're tending towards a sense of where we sort of establish an atmosphere, if you like, and a language, and that ideally we don't break that. And that we just travel through that, and we go on a kind of journey through the texts and and the movement, and we come out the other end.
Yep.
And that there may be a way of kind of bookending those 2 things with things that can be, not least through silence probably at both ends, then kind of segue into things.
I don't know if there's a way of creating some sort of an atmosphere as they come into the space. If the performers, as they're coming in, start
some way of
involving themselves in, so that the performance actually happens among the audience before they've even sat down.
There might be
in
a way
some
of
sort of way.
Yes, of just presenting.
Creating, because that will create some sort of, it will create some sort of an atmosphere.
and then that we move maybe into dance first, that we start in silence in dance.
What I like about that is that you're using the kind of
The austerity of just dancing its own without any...
and also the kind of unfamiliarity of that within the kind of normal liturgical setting to just draw everyone's attention to.
So I would really love to challenge people
By
doing that, by coming in and getting involved prayerfully, emotionally, spiritually as they come into the space. I think that'd be fantastic. Afterwards, when people come away from this liturgy, what do we want them to be thinking?
Something that I've been thinking about a lot is the sense of anticipation of waiting.
Yes, yeah.
And then changing that environment. So, in some sense, there is a dramaturgical shift from austerity and waiting and to something that's brighter. Hopefully, images will be created that could strike chords with them. So they are involved, even though they're not participating in a way.
I mean, what I'd hate them to do is go away going, well,
Exactly, that's...
I'm not sure that was about.
Yeah.
Well, maybe I would, but if we do that, if we want them to go away feeling puzzled or curious, we need to do that in quite an intentional way, I think.
It's exactly as you say, we're creating a world, and somehow we have to absorb the audience into that world.
Yeah.
Are we going to shatter them out of that world at the end?
What about the spoken material being the frame, in the same way that the antiphon is a frame to something else? Going back to that idea of framing, maybe we just have a sort of symmetrical structure where we have some sort of plain chant hymn sung at the beginning, a meditation, a spoken meditation on the theme of Advent of some kind, that then gives way to dance and the piece itself. At the end of the piece we have a final meditation from the priest and a plain chant.
I
And
quite like the
choir
idea
will-
of ending with a hymn that everyone's saying.
Well, why don't we open with the Advent prose, Because we don't. My great concern as the composer, always worried about being upstaged.
Can you have a shadow play?
I'm always worried that, you know, the last thing you want is to labour for a 20-minute piece and then you get a lovely Vaughan Williams tune at the end and you're completely upstaged. So, and I say that as a fan of Vaughan Williams. So, but on a more serious note, that you, as you say, you detract from what it is by putting some other bits around it. But the Advent plain chant would be lovely because it is so beautiful, and it's kind of got that sort of austere mood which I've been trying to get. So I think that would be a good scene setter, and maybe O Come, Emmanuel as a congregational hymn at the end, if you think that would work. That would then mean everyone stood up and it would be an ending. It's a hymn everyone knows. It's linked to the O's, so it's not random.
Yeah.
You know the very last antiphon that
Yeah.
is that O Emmanuel?
Yes.
We were talking about the chance and
Yes.
Yes.
seeing what can happen.
I think the whole thing might be chance.
Yeah,